Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty, Haggerty 10, you know the drill by now. And I'm joined today by Sean Martin at Sean Martin TCW Twitter handle. How are you, Sean?
I'm good, Tory. I'm feeling a wee bit chilly after the kind of sun, the sun the last couple of days. As soon as it's dipped below 20 degrees, that's me with my hoodie back on. So,
well, I'm just enjoying being an official Celtic da.
I was going to say, how does it feel to be in your 50s?
Strangely weird, but
50 in a day, but you're still in your 50s.
All right, you don't look a day over 50. Yes, you do. Indeed. It was a quiet day, Sean, and went to see Maverick with the wife at night, so it was very good. Recommend it. But there you go. It was good. Enjoyed it.
Got to get that in before the one football club, Brian Roberts. Tony, you don't look a day over 49.
And I have to say, a lot of the Celtic Way community wished me well. Yeah. Very happy happy birthday. So thank you to all you guys who did that. It's always very humbling and very kind. Take your time.
I had a few comments yesterday on the video for you where I was on with Graham who threatened to get you a Rapid Vienna top for you.
He did indeed. So I laughed at that. But so I thank you warmly from the bottom of my heart. That was very kind. Cheers, guys. Now, first things first, our sponsors, One Football. You know the job by now, guys. Get downloading the app. It's terrific. It's a one-stop football shop for scores, news, lineups, transfer rumours, live streaming, match highlights, and much, much more. You can immerse yourself in the digital football world and have the best personal football experience out there, as the wee briefing video showing you there, all the kind of stuff you can find on the app. Just get downloading it, One Football, and we thank them for their sponsorship of the pod. Excellent. Thanks, guys. And if you subscribe to the Celtic Way, our strapline, we've always got a deal for you guys. You know the drill off by heart by now, but we keep telling it. You can support top quality journalism. £3 for the next 3 months, Sean. A bargain. You can join us at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Keep hitting the button. And to those who have hit the button and subscribed and are tuning in, we thank them as well for their subscription too. Cheers, guys. Now, Sean, 2 words. Jordan Larsson. Discuss. Now, there's reports that it's been taken on, not taken on. We spoke off air. Nothing much has really changed, has it, Sean?
Yes and no, Tony. I mean, I think we made it certainly clear a couple of weeks ago when we went through my checklist. Remember, about whether it makes sense, but we did say that it was absolutely conjecture and not actually in any information that the club was looking at him. So that's not particularly changed. Since then, obviously, various outlets said that Larsson's agent had been in touch with several clubs and that Celtic was one of them. Again, as far as we understand, that's true. And last night reports basically reiterated that the club aren't looking at him. So I mean, if you're asking how I feel about that, then I suppose that's a different question. But I don't think much has actually really changed in that sense. We didn't think that Celtic were looking at him. It's now been said that Celtic aren't looking at him. So you're not really any further on.
I'm of the opinion that Ange won't be told who to sign, Sean.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he would have been told to sign him, though. I think it would have been suggested, don't get me wrong, but he'd have been maybe been aware of him. All right, let's get into how I feel about it, Tony. Right? Okay.
Go on then.
We always knew it was unlikely, is what I'd say first and foremost. I maintain, though, that he would have fit in under Ange Postecoglou, that he would have enjoyed playing for him, that Postecoglou would have enjoyed having a player of his ilk. Remember, the only real kind of negatives or crosses in that checklist that I made were potential wage demands relative to his kind of role in the team, because, for instance, he'd have been on good money at Spartak Moscow. He could have got more elsewhere, plus the assumed kind of rotation of being a forward player at Celtic with the other options that are there. And then add on to that, the other kind of cross was the potential pressure of being Henrik Larsson's son in the hoops, which was obviously actually a business positive from the club's point of view as well. But he's a very good player in his own right, Tony. It's not going to happen, it seems, but nonetheless, I maintain that it was worth discussing and he would have fit in.
I'm not disputing any of the logic there, because I think it's sound reasoning, it's sound logic. I just think the Celtic manager has final say on who comes in the door, and yes, you'd probably be aware of him, but the interest there is clearly, well, at this moment in time, it's clearly not strong enough for him to want to bring him in. It is an interesting proposition, and for all the reasons that you've stated, Chilpil, Jordan Larsson, great player, and fair play to him for carving his name out as Jordan Larsson and not just Henrik's son. And I agree with all these things that Kevin Ferris saying he would develop more under Ange. He probably would, but until somebody at the club gives the green light, i.e. Ange himself, says they want him or they take him, then it is, as you say, conjecture and speculation, and you will find that you'll be talking about it from now until the start of the season.
Brian Roberts channeling his inner Bertie Auld there, as long as he can play, not bought to sell jerseys. That is, I think he could do both. That's the thing. I think he could actually have done both. Patrick McLaughlin, I'm going to put up his comment here. He's glad he's not coming. He feels it would have undermined what Ange Postecoglou was trying to do if it was purely down to the board's decision. Now, I agree with the last sentence, if it was purely down to the board's decision, but I disagree with the notion that it would have been. I agree with you, Tony. I think it would have been up to Ange.
Yeah, of course. I think every player coming in is going to be up to Ange. So it's it just depends how interested they are in Jordan Larsson, and you have to say his agent's just doing his job, isn't he? If he's available on a free, then you offer him to clubs like Celtic and various others. I think he's been offered down south and German clubs as well, isn't he? And the buckled Furby, I'm thinking if he was good enough, he wouldn't be a free either.
Yeah, but it's the Russian situation. It's the Russian situation. That's why, because he was on loan at AIK Stockholm for the latter half of the season when the Russia's invasion of Ukraine broke out and how it affected football and stuff. And then after that, his contract's been kind of terminated off the back of that. It's not because he's flopped or anything. It's very much political almost.
Yes.
So that's another reason that it wouldn't have been on Celtic's radar because it wouldn't have been affordable, really.
We spoke about he was a £15 million player 2 years ago, wasn't he?
Potentially,
like that, so we've mentioned all of that. So, just it seems to be taking wee tweaks and turns, doesn't it? Of which there was another one last night. But we move on, as they say. And speaking of moving on, Celtic could be moving on next summer, Sean.
Yes.
Going to the Far East, a tour of Japan. A Japanese agency, Spondici, have put out saying that Celtic are looking to play Yokohama F Marinos and possibly Vissel Kobe, obviously with the Ange Postecoglou link, links and Kyogo Furuhashi links. They're looking to do a 2-game tour over in the Far East and just sort of expand the brand out there and tap into potential lucrative markets. That makes kind of sound business sense, doesn't it?
Aye, we just spoke about business sense in terms of selling jerseys and stuff, but it does. I think anyone with half a brain could have seen this coming at some stage. It's too big an open goal not to have been considered.
Connecting dots, I think it's called.
I actually remember being a bit surprised back in the mid-2000s, Tony, that they didn't really try it when Shinsuke Nakamura was here. But with what I would probably say, I was going to say quadruple threat, but it's actually a quintuple threat because thanks to Nakamura, the club already has a good reputation in Japan. But you add in the presence of Kyogo, Hatate, Maeda, Ideguchi, and then Postecoglou as well, and it's a no-brainer if it can be scheduled correctly. Yeah,
they're talking about the summer of 2023, so that would be next pre-season.
Yeah. I think, as with any tour, Tony, there's a lot of logistics involved anyway, no matter where you go, even if it's just up to Dingwall or something, right? But that's maybe not a tour except for the fans. But if it was to be, say, next pre-season, that's Australia in November, plus Qatar for a few players, and then the Far East for the very next pre-season. So depends what your views are on long-distance tours in general. I think as long as the balance between the obvious marketing commitments that there will be and the actual football preparation, as long as that balance is weighted appropriately in favour of the latter, then I think it is a good idea.
There's a lot of logistics to consider with long distance travel, as you rightfully say. No, but I think as you say, it's a no-brainer, and you could have seen it coming down the line. The minute they recruited Ange and the minute they recruited the Japanese players, if you're any kind of businessman at all or thinking in that way, you want to expand your global reach, then of course you're going to look at something like that, aren't you?
Yeah, Narcotech. Let's go, lads. Love to get you there, Tony.
Yes, yeah.
Tony in the Far East. Brian Roberts, C-Mill days are over. I think, well over.
Yes, but I mean, it sounds very glamorous, and it's still very much at the planning stages.
Frank Brennan travelling to Bargedi is going to the Far East for some.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of logistics to overcome. But I think if Celtic can put that tour together, it's certainly something that they'll embark upon, Sean. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. On the kind of a serious note of going to Japan and stuff, it's worth mentioning that a fellow journalist you're familiar with, Tony Dan Orlovitz of the Japan Times,
yes. Mm-hmm.
He sensibly pointed out that when dates are confirmed, fans should 100% check what entry requirements and restrictions and stuff are still in place to travel to Japan, because COVID is still causing havoc with that, and it could be for some time yet. So that was a very sensible post from Dan.
Indeed. And guys, get your questions coming in to the comment section. Me and Sean will endeavour to answer some of them. If you have a question or two for myself and Sean, we'll have a go at them, won't we, Sean?
We've had one already there that I'm going to pick out. Did you ask Tony if he got more green tops for his wardrobe?
The answer to that's no, I didn't. Oh. I've got enough, I think, for the time being. But that's not to say that won't change. But there you go. Now, Sean, talking of players, there's another player who getting linked, but we'll say that it's just conjecture and speculation, but it's Aaron Moy, isn't it? Whose name keeps propping up. People keep saying he'd be an instant replacement for Tom Rosick, but it's a name that's been linked to Celtic for a long time, since Ange took over from the start, basically, and it just keeps. It's one of the. It reminds me of the Stephen Fletcher coming to Celtic rumours and stuff like that. You know, you can go back to Hacking Yakin, guys like that. There was always names that kept coming up. I
just associate Hacking Yakin with the Basel elimination before the Seville run, to be honest. But
after that, Hacking Yakin was always coming to Celtic, but it never ever happened. So I don't know.
Managerial equivalent would presumably be Owen Coyle then.
Owen Coyle, yes. Owen Coyle's
constantly linked.
And honestly, constantly linked as manager as well for a while.
That's what I mean. To the managerial equivalent,
So there you go. But do we lay much stock in that?
We don't want to talk about Dewey coming back, do we? No. Well, there's nothing concrete, is there? His agent, as agents are wont to do, has just said that there's plenty of clubs interested. So you can add in his previous relationship with Ange Postecoglou with Australia, his wife's from Scotland, etc. And it's a natural kind of report to write up, I suppose.
Yeah.
In terms of taking it at face value, I'm not convinced that he's what Celtic really need in there.
No, neither am I.
But before the comments start flooding in saying, "Oh well, if Ange says he is, then he is," and all that, then yes, I know that. But on the face of it, only he's about to turn 32. He's having left a massive wage in China. Reports suggesting, again, it might be the agent, but reports suggesting teams down in England might want him. He isn't particularly the combative, athletic midfield presence that we've discussed as making a difference in European games, Tony. He's played central or attacking mid more than defensive mid. But he's also, I would argue, not the replacement for Tom Rogic, if you even think that Celtic need one. I happen to think O'Reilly and Turnbull can cover that. And that Ideguchi might actually be vying with Real Hatate for game time a wee bit further forward than McGregor. That's another segment, I suppose. Apart from that, I mean, I've watched some video of him recently, and he still does look a good player. I just don't think that he fits at Celtic just now at this stage in his career and this stage of the Celtic squad's development. I may be wrong. In fact, in many ways, Tony, we like to be proved wrong after assessments like this, don't we? I'd just be surprised if it came to pass, that's all.
We're always willing to be proved wrong. You're giving your opinion on various things, but I think you made a case there for saying why he might not come. But again, we've just spoken about earlier, Ange will decide, won't he? Ange Postecoglou will be the man who decides that. Now, here's a question for you, Sean. Patrick McLaughlin, which I think is a very good one. Would you guys be happy to start the season tomorrow with the current squad? Now, you wrote a digest piece, didn't you? A news digest piece on that, and you were extolling the virtues of the squad.
Yeah.
Even at the present time, and you were saying that it was a very strong squad. which I
Is
have
a bit,
to
yeah.
agree with. You know, so
I'll just put the link to that in the in the comments. But it was, yeah, I do. I probably would be happy because you've still got a while before the Champions League group stages starts. I think domestically, no problems at all. I think it is for the European stage that you're looking for the 1 or 2 extra that Ange Postecoglou's talked about, and obviously that word I always use, depth. But even in that sense, they do have a fair amount of depth. It's not the same as it was last October, where a couple of injuries and you are exclusive. It's different from that. I would agree with this. The retro Celtic saying the defence. Well, he says it still scares him. I'd say it still needs tuning in.
Yeah, fine tuning. Yeah,
fine tuning. Yeah. I think that was shown against Rapid at the weekend as well. But also, you've got to remember that was the second half, especially. Neither of the starting centre backs.
Yes.
So again, that's maybe a depth thing, a relationship thing rather than anything else. But I think just taking that question on its own at face value, if they were playing Aberdeen in the opener tomorrow, I would have no problems with that squad getting into it.
I've got no problems about that squad at the minute. Still think Ange will get the 2 players that he wants because he's clearly cited that and mentioned that, and they will come in. But as we stand, I think Celtic have got a strong squad. Very strong squad. I agree with yourself, and I certainly think domestically they'll be fine. It is, you are casting your eye on Europe, aren't you? And I think that's where fans are maybe getting a wee bit tetchy and a bit, they're a wee bit worried. Let's put it that way about going into the Champions League with the squad as it stands. But they won't.
I think that's
Champions League group stage with the squad as it stands. There will be at least 2 more additions, I think.
Well, I mean, Ange said himself probably 1 or 2 more is the limit. I think that's sensible because I do think that they still need to let people go as well when you think about the way that the squad is. That said, I kind of made the point in that newsletter that 17 subs were named on Saturday against Rapid Vienna.
Tell me about it. I had to do the man by man, Sean.
You could make the case, if you look at it in a certain way, to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, from a certain point of view, that only really Albion Ayeti in the subs bench was truly a jersey filler that truly seems expendable.
Yes.
I think the rest were a mix of players that could conceivably still be playing a role as a squad player or young up-and-comers who want to try and put themselves in Ange Postecoglou's thoughts. Maybe Liam Shaw might come into a bit in the middle of those 2. But I wasn't overly perturbed even though there was 17. I think a lot of them, or a couple of them, will still go. I think Chris Julian's expected to go. That opens up the door for, is there another centre-back needed, or is Boston Lowell going to have played his way in, that kind of thing. So I think there's all interesting questions, but I do think there is an element of depth there that wasn't there last year, and that's partly because of the signings made last summer, but more so because of the signings made in January.
The retro Celtic, so you don't think Ange isn't looking to bring in a centre-half? I think he's always looking to bring in a centre-half, a defence. I don't think you can get enough good defenders in your team, Sean.
The thing with centre-back with me is, Tony, I do think if you're going to bring in another one, then ideally it would be a left footer. It would be a left-sided left
centre-back, which I think he will bring in. I think that's because we've spoken about this.
On the other hand, though, you've just let Liam Scales go on loan. He's going to be playing there for Aberdeen, that kind of thing. But also, you paid $4 million or so for Carl Starfelt a year ago.
Yeah.
It did still look kind of slightly uncomfortable playing on that side of the back line. He's not going to oust Cameron Carter-Vickers from right centre back. It's just not going to happen. Those 2, if he's fit, they will be the starting centre back pair, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So if you've spent that on Carl Starfelt a year ago, and he eventually did become quite a consistent presence last year, do you not need to make sure that somebody better than him, or is he just going to be sitting on the bench?
No, I think you need to make sure it's somebody better than him. I'm thinking Champions League, Sean. I think most Celtic fans are. No, I think domestically they'll be fine with that kind of centre back pairing. I'm just thinking Champions League. You need quality there to repel quality that's coming at you.
Funny you should mention that, because a columnist of ours, James Daly, I'm trying to dig out the article the other day, was kind of looking at the dangers of how using different data sets and what ones can tell you and ones can kind of lead you down a road with a player, even though things like system requirements can actually undermine it in terms of like, this guy's good at passing the ball out from the back. But if he's actually putting a team like Celtic, is he quite as good as what it seemed when he was only passing it 5 yards, that kind of thing? And part of the thing that he said about the Carl Starfelt's kind of data profile and underlying stats was that domestically, opponents just don't have the quality to punish the kind of mistakes that he makes.
Yeah.
In Europe, that might be different. So I do take your point that if you're going to put another centre back, one, it should be better than presumably Starfelt, not Carter Vickers, and two, that should be better to a level where it's Champions League level rather than just domestic, because that won't actually improve it much.
Correct, and I think that's what Celtic supporters are thinking. And you know fine well that's what the manager's thinking too. You know,
the thing is, I'm not convinced that he will.
He's more than one step ahead of us, but
I'm not convinced that he will because the amount of outlay that there was for Starfelt last summer, but also the outlay that there's been this summer so far with other positions. I don't necessarily see them unless they strike it really, really lucky again or really good with the scouting like they did with Carter Vickers and getting someone on loan to buy, that kind of thing again. But I just don't see them parting with a fee that would put the Starfelt one lower in the pecking order, if you know what I mean.
Sure. I still think there's room for another quality centre back because I'm assuming that Julian will eventually leave the club alongside others. That's just my assumption. I don't base it in any insider knowledge as of yet, but I still think Julian could be heading for the exit door, and as you've already touched on as well, that there'll be a few heading for the exit door, won't there?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got to remember the role of wages and all this as well, Tony.
Yeah,
it's not just what you get for them in a transfer fee; it's what you save by having them off the wage bill and stuff. So
totally, I think that needs to happen as well in order to maybe facilitate another 2 or 3 coming in, if it is to be that many.
The good thing is, I always say, Tony, and I've been saying for probably, and again annoying you because I repeat things quite a lot on here, but that graphic that I'd made back when I was looking at the fringe players and the contract situations and stuff back in the start of June, the overarching point I always try and remember when I'm looking at the depth stuff and I'm constantly mentioning it is Celtic have got the benefit of security. As I said, when Carter Vickers and Jota both signed, security is underrated. Apart from Turnbull and Hart, whose deals expire in 2024, all the main players, the key players, the big players are all tied down way beyond that, 2025, 2026, 2027 if it's Jota. So the security aspect that Celtic have got there is, the reality is they don't need to jump in with head first, they don't need to jump in both feet to sign someone for specific positions. They have the benefit of the time that security brings. In this window and the windows to come. Totally
get that. Now, speaking of green things, Sean, and green tops or whatever, you can win a Celtic away jersey, can't you?
You can. You certainly can. But it's almost your last chance. I'll give you a wee shout again tomorrow. I'll make the draw after the briefing tomorrow. But if any of you are on Twitter, we're currently running a giveaway of a Celtic away top. Free to enter. All you need to do is go to our Twitter profile, retweet the pinned post at the top, or I'll put the link in the comments and that should take you directly to the post that you need to retweet. And then make sure you follow us, the Celtic Way 1888 or Celtic Way 1888, on Twitter. And then that's you in the draw for tomorrow. So the winner will be announced tomorrow after the briefing. So I'll give you another shout tomorrow. That'll be your last call.
And Sean, we will preview the Bannock Ostrava friendly tomorrow before, and we'll do a pod after the game has taken place.
Yes, double dose.
Double dose. We've been following his pre-season. We've been doing a pod after the football as well, one before and one after the pre-season friendly takes place. It's been an enjoyable experience where we dissect what's just happened. So we'll continue to do that tomorrow, and hopefully during the season, Sean, maybe try and make that a regular feature. I
think so, because you guys seem to enjoy it, even though it means looking at us too an extra time. I think we will. I think we'll look to make it a regular thing. So hopefully you continue to join us and tune in and watching on replay and listening on the podcast and all of that stuff.
Indeed. Now, all you have to do now is just download the One Football app, guys. The link's in the description. We thank them for their sponsorship. as we always do every day. And it's £3 for the next 3 months. Hit that subscribe button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And if you're on Twitter, get doing what Sean said, you can win yourself a Celtic away jersey. We can't do any more than that, guys, for you. And you can enjoy some quality chat or whatever adjective you want to describe the chat as. Most days, every day, 10 o'clock, myself and Sean, or myself, Sean and Alison, or sometimes Graham McGarry joins us, and and others. It's always a pleasure to have you, and we appreciate the comments coming in. We thank you for them. We thank you for your subscription as well. We hope you enjoy the wee community that we've built up. It's always a good start to the day, Sean, speaking about Celtic, because it never stops, does it?
No, it doesn't, because I'm away to spend the rest of my day speaking about Celtic. So.
Indeed. So, guys, have a wonderful Tuesday. We'll see you all tomorrow. We'll do it all again. Sean, first class as always. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Tony. Cheers, Trips.